Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview, where every single week I interview straight up top badasses out there dominating their space here in the real estate industry. And you guys, we got an amazing guest on the show today. Dude, I'm really excited to have on the show. Before we jump in, just to give you guys a little background of our guest today. So our guest today, Bryan Karp. So Bryan is ranked the 25th top realtor in America, in the United States for 2020, based on transaction count side. So he's the number one agent in Long Island. His numbers in 2020 did 182 transactions at 72 million in gross volume sales in 2020. In 2019 did 205 sales. Again, realtor, investor, and just an overall dude that's just dominating this space. I'm really stoked and honored to have Bryan on the show, my friend.
Awesome, Joshua. Thank you. I'm pumped. I'm excited to pull back the curtain and unpack it all.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're a dude that's just, man, you got the commitment, you got the drive, and you made it happen. You continue to make it happen. And I just love seeing it, man. I'm excited to dive into, because you've also, look, a lot of people buy their way into this business, meaning, they're like, from a gross level, it looks and sounds pretty. But then when you see the P&L and peel back the curtain, you're like, whoa, dude, like you're spending $100,000 to make $120,000. And, and that's the side of the business a lot of people don't see. We're like in the only industry where everybody celebrates the gross, not the net. And you're a dude that not only has done a lot of production, but you've done it in a very profitable way where you were been able to make millions and millions on it and keep that money and build up wealth through other ways. And so stoked to jump into all of that. But before we do, man, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led up here in the first place. So if we run the clocks, like why real estate? How did this begin? Like what led here, dude?
Sure, absolutely. So I always say, like, this is my first comic book. So first comic book is I grew up in Belmore, which is in Nassau County. If you look at Long Island is a candy bar. All right. So the first portion of the candy bar, the first bite, that's Nassau County. And then Suffolk County is the back piece. So I grew up in Belmore. I was never the school person. I wasn't a bad kid in school, but literally I had no interest in school. I would remember I would be sitting in science class, just like I'm sitting here right now, raised top desk. My knee would be racing up and down, and I would literally stare at the classroom door, and there was a clock frozen above that door. And that 45-minute science class felt like 4 hours long. Today, I wake up at 4 a.m. I go to bed at 10 o'clock. Joshua, it's gone in a snap. Like I can't even create enough time. So it's so funny when you find your passion, you find your addiction, you find literally your oxygen, time doesn't even exist. My father was a union construction worker. So he sits me down one day and he's like, Bryan, school is not for everybody. He said, learn a trade. You'll always be able to feed your family. So the one thing about me is I've always been coachable. So I was like, all right, Pop, no problem. I'm going to go to a trade school. And I learned the trade of electrical. It was a BOCES. It got me out of high school. It was great. And that was my plan. 18 years old, go out into the trades and start hustling. You know what it costs to get an electrician, a plumber in your house. And then it turned out my senior year in high school, I get offered a full scholarship to play football in college. So now I'm at the crossroads, right? Because I got mom on this shoulder who's an educator. And she's like, wait, free school? Like that wasn't even in your cards. My dad is like, you are postponing the inevitable. 18, get out there. You're a mechanic. By the time you're 22, you're making six figures. Life is set. And I'm like, you two are supposed to be on the same page. Like what's happening? And I thought about it and I prayed on it for a day or two. And I woke up one morning and I was like, this is an easy decision. I'm like, my passion, my addiction, my oxygen is football. I went to bed every night dreaming about it. And every morning I woke up and I was like, all right, bigger, faster, stronger. So I was really lucky. I got a full scholarship to play football at Stony Brook University. It was a Division I school, full ride. I ended up graduating as a two-time All-American. And then my senior year, I had my second knee surgery and I realized I wasn't going to the NFL. So now it's 2015. 2004, 2005, top of the real estate market in the world, in Long Island, in the United States. Economy is racing, couldn't get a job anywhere. And I'm like this, holy macaroni. My dad is never going to let me move back in. What am I going to do in my life? I have a degree in sewing and poker history. Like, what am I going to do? And a buddy of mine on the football team, he gave me this book that changed my life forever. And the book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm sure your listeners have all read it. The book's by a guy named Robert Kiyosaki. And all it talks about is real estate, entrepreneurship, and passive income. And after reading that book, I'm like, oh my God, they wrote it for me. You know, the thing about me is I'm very coachable. So I don't ask why. I don't ask, this doesn't make sense. I just do, and I take action. So I ran out in 2005 and I bought a 2-family house. All right. So at that time, my beautiful wife is just my girlfriend. So me and her are living upstairs. We rent out the entire downstairs for $2,000. And my mortgage payment, Josh, it's $1,900 a month. So I'm living there, brother, and I'm making $100 a month. And I said, this is it. This is what I'm going to do in my life. I'm going to start buying rental houses. So Bryan Karp, Long Island sales giant, literally got into real estate for one reason. I wanted to have a license. I wanted to have access to the data. I wanted to be the inside player. And I started this business as a part-time job. First year, 3 houses, friends and family. Then I did 10 houses. Then I did 20 houses. And then there's been about a decade that I was doing about 100 transactions a year. And you were so kind and very flattering. 2019, I crushed it, 205 transactions. #1 agent in all of Long Island, just under 90 million worth of resi. Even in a pandemic in 2020, I did 182 transactions. And Josh, when I say this, at that time, I didn't have a team. It was literally, I'm a lone soldier. It was me with 2 full-time admin run around there slinging properties. And then if you sum up everything over the last 14, 15 years in real estate, every dollar that I've been blessed with, there is no fancy cars, brother. There is no fancy watches. Every dollar I reinvested back into real estate. So today we own a very large rental portfolio. And the reason I have to do that is I'm never going to be the teacher, the nurse, the firefighter. I'm not going to have a pension. I'm not going to have an annuity, but I'm building a passive income stream around myself. You know, this business is incredible because it gives you that opportunity.
Yep. No, I love that, man. And lots to unpack there, dude. So I got a lot of, just follow-up questions and directions that we can take this. The first thing that, I'm curious about is all right, so you're in college, you made the decision, you're like, dude, my oxygen is football. And then all of a sudden, boom, second knee surgery, senior year, and those dreams are crushed, if you will, right? And, it's very difficult for a lot of people to recover and be able to get that oxygen back and pivot that somewhere else. I have, friends that were professional athletes, like the second that ended, dude, like they became a different person. And, it was just, they weren't able to channel that like you have. How did you channel that? If somebody is maybe in that situation where, kind of their first passion, their first love, if you will, it didn't work out for whatever that reason may be. And they're trying to, maybe channel that somewhere else and they're struggling with that. I'm just curious with like how you were able to bounce back and just not lose that, but just pivot it into a new direction.
I took that energy and I just put it towards building a business, building an empire, and then changing not my life, but my family tree forever. And that's really what happened. Like the football was taken from me. And listen, guys and women, we could only work out and train so much. And I was like, what's next? And then I just got the taste for passive income. And I said, oh my God, like this is my chance. And I put all that energy because I remember I played defensive nose guard. So my job was to kill the person in front of me and then attack the quarterback. So I remember being, ripping through the offensive lineman, running after the quarterback, sacking him, and then putting your hands up in front of 10, 15,000 people. There's no feeling, there's no high better than that. And as soon as that was over, I'm like, where am I going to get those dopamine hits from? And then I found real estate and I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. And then you understand, like a man like me. So I get the dopamine hits from the sales, putting the deals together, finding the business. But the real, like, I'm such a long game guy. A lot of people in real estate, they're playing checkers. I'm playing chess. So what I got to do is I got to go sling a few hundred houses. We got to pay Uncle Sam. We got to tithe on our money because my wife and myself tithe, and then live on a little piece. And then after all of that, we got to take that money and then invest it into a house that gives me a little piece of income every single month. So to me, like the journey, the grind has been the most fun of all of it. So it's just, they got to find something, Joshua, that they literally wake up at 4 a.m. and say, thank God I'm awake and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's the, whatever you want to call it, your real estate empire, if you will, that this wealth creation through that, is the true thing that's driving the passion. But that allows you then to have that auction, that passion at real estate itself, being a real estate agent, because it's making that become a reality, right? And
real estate is my gateway. I say this all the time. Real estate was my gateway to be at the table that I always knew I deserved to be at, but nobody would ever listen to me. No one would ever respect me before I crushed it, built wealth, became a business leader for 15 years. And now I could be at the table that I always felt that I deserved to be at.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I love it. I mean, it just shows the power of I know that's a word gets thrown around all the time and it can be diminished or sound like a cliche, but I mean, the power of your why and because if we are not very clear on the reasons of why we must do this thing, we always then succumb to the reasons of why not. And there's infinite reasons of why not, right? And you're living proof of the power of that, man. So dude, before we get into, because man, I got a lot of questions of how you built this. I mean, how you did so many units, right? Is it, I can't even fathom doing that kind of amount of units without a team around you. And then obviously how you led to that production and all of that stuff. But before that, dude, because I think that this is so important, man. I mean, we're in an industry that obviously there's no pensions, there's no 401ks, there's no, and unfortunately, dude, I see it all the time. Realtors get in this business 30, 40 years. Then, they kind of repeat the same year, the same habits over and over and over. And what they have to show over at the left of this is like packing up a little box with their license. And, it's sad to see, man, they didn't go out there and weren't intentional with, creating, like utilizing this as a vehicle, like in the way that you are. And it's not with real estate. It's not just real estate. If you look at, there's only 2% of Americans that at the age of 65 or older can retire without being reliant on government and their family to take care of them. I mean, it's sad of what we're seeing. The gap is getting worse. The middle class is kind of getting wiped out before our eyes, man. And people need to be awake to this more than ever. So with that being said, dude, is like, man, it takes an insane amount of discipline to do what you've done, because you get to the table where it's hard to not keep up with the Joneses. Yeah. Right. Like you got this money and it's like, okay, well, why not reward myself and go buy the fancy car and go buy this? And, and you've been disciplined for a decade and a half now on this path. Like what has been the key to you staying so disciplined and not caving into, I guess, the keeping up with the Joneses and deviating from that path?
Joshua, like you hit the nail on the head. You summed up this entire podcast in one word: discipline. I am just a disciplined mother, you know what? And that's all it's really been. But so I realized that at a young age, I was never going to be a doctor. I was never going to be a lawyer. I was never going to be an engineer. So like the only way I was going to have the life of my dreams, the only way I was going to live up to the success that I knew I was destined for was in sales. Right. And then I had to be disciplined about it because, I'm very lucky today that younger agents, older agents, they come to me, they'll reach out to me on social media and they say, give me that one piece of wisdom, give me that one thing. And what they don't realize is I can motivate them for that one day. I can motivate them for that 1 week. I can motivate them for that 1 month. But can you do it for 14 years straight and put your head down? Like, you could prospect for 1 day, you could prospect for 1 week, but then when you have blisters on your feet, your eyeballs are bleeding, and there's not one lead that turned into something, can you still wake up at 4 a.m. and be as disciplined as I was? And that's the problem, is everybody wants it now instead of waiting for it. And the reason why I've been able to wait for it, because the journey has been the best piece of it. The journey is what feeds me.
Yep. Yeah, no, I love that, dude. So what would you then, I mean, maybe a better way to phrase this is, like, look, dude, you don't get to your level in sports that you got to without being disciplined, right? Like it's, I never was really an athlete, never played at the level that you did by any means. I can only fathom like what it takes to get to that level, the commitment, the discipline, and so forth. And is that something, dude, that you've just always been kind of hardwired? Like you've just always been this discipline machine, or is it something that, you think can be learned, not innate?
So when I put myself on the couch and I try to unpack, my brain, which I'm always trying to conquer my brain and unlock my matrix, is I think it all goes back. So Joshua, I have a learning disability. So I'm dyslexic. So dyslexia is when you see letters and numbers and they're inverse. And today, I only read on a 4th or 5th grade level. So you have to understand that a man like me who owns multiple businesses, manages a huge rental portfolio, when I go to Chili's, my 8-year-old son is reading me the menu. So you have to understand the way I need to step back on things like that. But I guess from a young age, society and everyone was pushing me to be something else because of my learning disability, right? They were like, I remember graduating from high school, and they were like, well, Bryan, maybe, you could apply to be one of the custodians. And now listen, that is a great job. And no one respects a working man more than me. But I was like, a custodian? Like you that's what you guys thinking of me? So I think I'm able to be so disciplined in my life and in my business and in sports and in everything, because like, this is literally a gift. This is a gift from God that I have. Like, I literally have a winning lotto ticket, and all I am doing is playing it. So for me, it's easy to get up 4 a.m. It's easy to get my reps in. It's easy because I feel so blessed that I have this opportunity, and I'm not pigeonholed to what everyone else thought I should be doing.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. I love it, man. So, and what's cool about this, dude, is I mean, you talked about your first year, 3 deals, second year, 10 deals, so like, man, like this progressed and you went through the struggles that pretty much everybody goes through when they first enter this business in those first few years. And why I say that that's cool is, right. It and everything that you're saying that you've set up to this point is, I mean, sometimes it's easy. Like if people aren't watching this podcast and they just see your numbers, right, to just be like, oh, this guy's got to have something I don't, or he's got some, maybe special DNA code, or, I mean, it's easy to put people up on pedestals, but when you start breaking it down, it's like, dude, like, you've had the challenges that everybody else, experiences and has, and some that maybe they don't have, right, that you've had to overcome. You're just a dude that's wanted it and committed to it. And so I'm curious, man, of 3 deals that first year, 10 that second, and then, when things started to really take off for you, what was the thing that clicked, if you will, like what were the, kind of levers, if you will, that you found out that allowed you to go from, oh man, I'm doing 10 deals. I don't know what your third year was, but then all of a sudden, boom, you hit that point where now it's that 100 a year, like what was that thing that you figured out, if you will, that really allowed you to propel to that growth and not just hit it, but consistently hit it year after freaking year?
So real estate agents are passively waiting for business to come into them, right? Like they're waiting for that phone to ring. They're waiting for their email to light up. I realized that I needed to bring business in. Once I realized that I needed to bring business in, it was very easy and it was very repeatable, and I'm disciplined. So all I did was block out time to prospect and lead generate and build it and build it and build it. So have you ever heard of this guy named Roger Bannister? Okay, so Google him when we jump off this podcast. But Roger Bannister was the first human to break the 4-minute mile. All right, so let's break this up. Before Roger broke the 4-minute mile, scientists, doctors, professors, they literally said the human heart would rip out of the chest. As soon as Roger did it, weeks and months after that, multiple other people did it. Men, women, children. Why did that happen? It's because he broke the mindset that it couldn't be done. So once I started achieving and doing 30 deals and then 50 deals, and then everyone's like, you can't break 100 on your own. I'm like, oh yeah, 100 deals, and then 150 deals, and then 200 deals. Like, I'm not even counting the houses. I am just playing so hard, full speed every day. And then when at the end of the year and I call my assistant and I say, where are we at? That's where the numbers fall.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and again, I probably shouldn't even be trying to use sports analogies, but because I'm not not an athlete, or wasn't an athlete, and not really I don't really watch sports, but I'm guessing that the success that you created there was, dude, like you just focus on executing on the fundamentals each and every day. And if you do that each and every day, then boom, right, you're out there and victorious, right?
You can't be attached in sales, especially in real estate. You cannot be attached to today's outcome. Okay. So you have to get the reps in and then look back after a month, 2 months, 3 months, and see what it created. You could prospect today for 12 hours and not make $1. You could do that 5 days, 7 days in a row and still see nothing. You just have to know that you're going to achieve and continue to get the reps in. I call them little wins. You got to get the little wins in, and you get validated from that. And then you keep stacking them and stacking them and stacking them.
Yep. 100%, dude. So then, so when you're building this business and this huge business, I mean, through cold calling, through prospecting based efforts, right, that aren't costing you anything, but obviously you're there's still a cost because you got your time. But it's allowing you to net all that money to invest in real estate and so forth. As you were growing this and expanding this, for somebody that is, because we've got a lot of listeners here that cold calling is what they want to focus on, right? Because of the insane ROI that can be there. And there's so much opportunity in that. What for somebody that's getting into that space, like what would you give them now as your top lessons learned to crushing it in that space? Like what do you wish you would have known when you started that?
Right. So, all right. So let's break it up a little bit, Joshua. So with the prospecting, I had no choice. Maybe if I had money when I got into this game, I would have started buying Zillow leads, or I would have been doing Pennisaver ads. But I literally got into this business with $300 in my bank account. So I literally had no choice but to prospect, and to me, buying stuff is a passive act. If you can go out there and create it, you could always create it. I say to some of the people that I mentor today that you give a man a fish, he eats one day. But if you teach someone to fish, he eats forever. So with the prospecting, you have to start to get comfortable. You have to start to get fluid. Yes, there's a lot of trainers and coaches that give you scripts, but it's just knowing exactly what to say. It's knowing exactly how to maneuver the conversation. It's knowing exactly how to put out questions and get a certain response. Because remember, the objections that the agents are seeing, the situations that the agents are seeing, they're not the only time they're going to see it. there's only so many objections, so many situations. So once you master exactly what to say, the tonalities, the way to wrap it, the way to change it, then you become a Jedi. You become a master at it.
Yep. What's your? I'm curious. What's your take on role playing? I see it like on Facebook almost every day of people like, oh man, I'm looking for a role play partner to script practice role playing. Is that something that you've ever partaked in? Something that you ever found helpful?
I'm a guy who'd rather run the wrong direction for an hour than just sit still. So to me, like you have endless for sale by owners. Why don't you role play with them?
Yep.
Get out there, hit it, and get comfortable, get your teeth knocked in, get punched in the face, and that's how you learn. It really is the God's honest truth. Like the cool thing about real estate is you get paid to learn. Like it's like going to college and getting paid for it. And I can teach you, I can coach you, I could train you, but until you go out there, like you got to get out there and speak to live people and be caught off guard and know how to maneuver and work it.
Yep.
Listen, I played high level athletics, but I feel like in this business, the listeners, myself and you, we have an opportunity to make millions and millions of dollars a year. And I'm not saying that because there's very few agents who do it. So you have the opportunity to make multiple 7 figures a year in real estate. And I did it without owning a brokerage, without running a team, without spending a huge ad budget. So to be that blessed and that lucky, I almost feel like I'm like a professional athlete. So I treat myself like a professional athlete. I'm waking up early. I'm getting my mind set right in the morning. I'm getting my cardio in. I'm getting my weights in. I'm getting organized for the day. I'm eating right? I'm meditating if that's your thing. And then I am training and practicing just like a professional athlete does. Professional athletes, football guys, they might at the end of the entire game maybe play 2 minutes of actual football, but they eat right all the time. They're not partying. They're not drinking. They're not, doing the wrong thing because at any given time, they got to be ready to play. And that's how I treat myself. I run my life like I'm a professional athlete.
Yep. Yep. I love it, dude. I mean, what's so amazing about this, especially, I don't want to just say all business. I mean, this is true for all business, but it's especially true for this amazing industry that we're in. And I mean, because there is no bigger gap of, those that you got what 7% of the realtors making 93% of the income, right? So like the gap of like, those that treat it as a profession, like you're talking about, I mean, those that are committed to going pro versus those that are amateurs. I mean, it's more so than any other business, any other niche I've ever seen. So for those that are truly committed, man, it is like fishing with dynamite. I mean, you have no competition and you can't not go out there and crush it if you are fully committed, like you were talking about, man. And
I only have started, and you were so gracious to invite me on your podcast, and you have this tremendous following. Like I've only over the last maybe year or two started to take some time out to tell my story about everything. And the reason I'm doing it now is I'm looking for myself 15 years ago, who literally had tears in his eyes and like, I know I'm special. I know that I'm not the normal person, but like, what am I going to do in my life? How am I going to live this epic life when they're telling me I need to do this? So real estate is that entry for every single person, and nobody has any excuses, because if you look at me, I'm reading on a 4th or 5th grade level, and I still have managed to master this business and turn it into an empire.
Yeah, I love it, dude. So then, all right, so you're knocking out these cold calls, man, and I'm guessing that over the years, though, I mean, you're delivering amazing service to your clients, developing relationships, staying in touch with them. So that repeat referral business is starting to build up as well, and all that compounding momentum and so forth is just leading to more and more deals. And but man, dude, I mean, 205 deals in 2019, you 2 assistants, no team, right? Like, dude, we got in the business around the same time. I think I got in 2005. I did 48 deals my first year. And I mean, it was like, there was no scanners, smartphones. Like it took a little bit longer for a deal, but I can't fathom, doing like, dude, I was at a max capacity, for myself at least. Like I hired my first assistant that first year and then started growing my team right away after that. It's insane production. So I'm curious then of how you managed it all, because you got to still keep up with that prospecting. Yeah, right. You're going on an insane amount of listing appointments, servicing those clients. And yeah, you've got a couple admin to help with paperwork and essential non-money making activities, but you got to still do all the money making activities to continue to fuel that growth, man. Like how did you continue at that level of production and keep it all together?
Sure. The year that I did 205, I really didn't even realize I broke the 200 mark until it was like New Year's Eve. And my main assistant, she's been with me for a decade, and she calls me up and I said, where the numbers fall? And she's like, well, you just had a closing, earlier today, and that's 205. And I was like, wow. The year before I did 150. And I was like, where did it even go? I don't even know 200 people. How could I literally sell 205 houses? And just for the list, so the listeners know, I don't have any developers that are giving me 30 brand new constructions. I am not an REO or foreclosure broker where Fannie and Freddie drop me 100 listings. These are all where I had to go belly to belly with every seller and convince them to hire me and allow me to market their home and allow me to negotiate the transaction. But you're 100% right. You don't get to that level without giving amazing service. So although I come off sometimes a little aggressive and over the toply energy, like I treat every one of my clients like they're literally my only client. And I treat every one of my houses that I'm listing like it's my house and my investment. And I think that's one of the reasons I have so many raving fans in this game, and I'm so lucky that if you jump on Zillow, I have over 400 5-star reviews. Like it's insane. On Google, I have almost 200 5-star reviews. And it's just people, my goal is always to give them the Ritz-Carlton experience, right? The white glove experience. They call me, whatever they say, yes, right? Yes. Obviously I'm super disciplined with the way I price product, the way I move my machine, like everything is a system and process in my business, but I am here as your advisor. I am here as your confidant, and I am here to make things happen. So when they need something, I say yes, and then I figure it all out. So I think that's a big way I've been able to scale it. Something else that I would give as like a little takeaway from everything is I'm a listing agent. All I do is list homes. I do not work with home buyers. So I'd say about the third year in real estate, I realized that the amount of time I would spend on a buyer was literally 50 times what I would spend trying to generate a listing and running a listing. So I totally, after my third year in real estate, washed off buyers and said, unfortunately, I don't work with buyers. And it was very difficult in the beginning because people were like, whoa, what do you mean you don't work with buyers? You're too good for me. Or I would sell their home and they're like, Bryan, can you show me a few houses? And you think, they know exactly where they want to go, exactly what house. It never turns into that. So very early in my business, I realized I needed to spend all of my time on bringing in new business, managing my business, and then helping them get to the closing table, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So what I basically did in the year I did 205, and even in the year that I did 182, is every buyer, I just referred out. I referred it out into my brokerage. I referred it out before I had a team. I have created a team today, but now I refer it out to my team. And I'm also very laser focused on the business I take. I'm not taking product that won't move. I am not taking home sellers that I don't want to work with. You're going to price it at the price that I feel is necessary. You're going to pay the commission that I dictate, and you're going to get on my system and my process. And if not, then no harm, no foul, but we're just not a good match.
Yep. Can't be all things to all people, man. I love it, dude. So then I'm curious, man, the 2021 and I'm assuming that your market is like everybody else's market throughout the country with massive inventory pinches and shortages. And it's record low inventory at 25 buyers to every house, man. Like everybody I'm talking to is struggling to get listings, wants more listings, doesn't know what to do to get more listings. Like, what are you doing, especially with this being your only personal focus?
Yeah. So listen, you look at Monday, I put 6 brand new listings on the market on Monday, so when you control the inventory, I always say it's like I own a supermarket and I have all of the product, as a real estate agent, you have to first understand that you're a business. Right? A lot of people are very transactional. This is a business and you need inventory to keep your business going. So you got to always be growing the inventory. And that's where a majority of your energy needs to go on is growing inventory. I think the big thing that separated me, I was doing 70, 80 transactions a year. And then what got me past that 100 mark and then what started getting me to the next level is I decided at a very early age, Joshua, that I was going to build a brand. Right. So a lot of real estate agents are very transactional. And me, I was like, no. To me, it's not a transaction. I'm a brand. I'm a story. I'm this over the top, crazy personality, 300,000 miles into the wall, even if it's the wrong move. So from the beginning, it was all about branding everything. I branded everything around my face. Okay. I don't think I'm this super handsome or gorgeous Adonis person. I just knew that it was all going to be about face brand recognition. So big thing I did is I wrapped my car. I still drive it today. I own a 2010 Camry with 200,000 miles on it with my face on it. That's probably about 4 feet tall. So that was a big game changer. And then once that went well, we took a truck, my old Honda Pilot, we wrapped that. And I got a 6-foot picture of my face on the back of the truck. And then before all of that, we started putting my face on all the signs. And then if the house is on a busy road, we put 10 signs in front of it. And then if it was on a major highway, we put a billboard up there, not paying for it, just signs everywhere. And then some agents said, whoa, what Bryan's doing is working. Let's put our face on it. So they put their face. Then I got 2 signs in the ground. I got a sign here, another sign here. To me, it was building a brand and then getting involved in the community, giving back. So what ends up happening is people all the time pull me aside and like, oh my God, Bryan, we see your face everywhere. Like you want to be in everyone's mouth. When they're talking about real estate, you just want a few people to bring you up and then the phone just rings and it rings forever if you could accomplish that.
Yeah. And when you study the greats, like the Dan Kennedys of the world, he's like, from a marketing perspective, it's like, all right, like if you look at real estate, you've only got about 5% of any given population that's looking to buy or sell anytime in the near future. Most markets have, if you look at the adult population that can qualify to buy or sell, you got about a 5% of that population, turnover rate on an annual basis. So then it's like, well, everybody's fighting for that 5%. Yep. Nobody's going for the 95%, right? In the way that like you're talking about here, where if you're targeting that 95% and you take over that mind space, so you're in their mind before they're thinking about buying and selling. So the moment that they do, they're already decided on you, right? Like you've already captured that. Plus it's kind of a blue ocean because everybody's fighting over that 5% scraps.
And what it was is I didn't try to take over all of Long Island, all of the candy bar. I literally started with one town. So I found the town where I used to live and my office was. I looked up on Zillow who the number 1 player was. And there was this nice woman doing about 8 transactions a year. So I said to myself, all I got to do is 9 and I'm the player. I literally cut out her picture and I put it on my mirror. And every morning at 4 a.m., I woke up and I saw her smiling face. And I said, there's no way that she needs this or wants it even half as much as I need it. And then once I took over that town, I took over the next town over from it, the next town over from there. And then I call those your villages. I grabbed 3 villages. And then from there, I went around it and grabbed 10 more areas. So it's not like I took over all of Long Island in one day, 1 month, 1 week, 1 year. It was a gradual thing that came through. And then a big thing was, social media. Social media really transported my business to the next level because before it was cool and sexy doing videos. I've had a full-time video guy working with me for years. And it wasn't like, everyone's looking at what's the ROI, what's the money, what's the return in that. And I just was like, no, this is what I need to do to start building the brand. So, a few days a week, I have my video guy. He just rolls with me all day long. And we are getting so much content that we've built. Like, everyone loves the behind the scenes. Everyone loves what I'm doing. If any of the listeners want to jump on Instagram, they could find me at Bryan, Bryan Karp, LI. So Bryan Karp, LI. And our Instagram, we get so much engagement from that. And then we started building our LinkedIn, our Facebook, my YouTube channel, which is Bryan Karp, LI. Once we started building all of these and we started distributing content all the time, and it wasn't like I'm not creating content. I'm just documenting what I'm doing, from selling a house to buying investment property to prospecting. Then it just started putting gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, dude. And I love what you just said there, man, of documenting, not creating. And you hear Russell Brunson talk about this a lot in like Expert Secrets and so forth. So many people get hung up of when it comes to posting and putting content out there because they think they got to be this creative and have these, amazing messages. No, dude. I mean, if you look at social media, it's just replaced reality TV. We just get to all be the own stars of our own channels. And you look at reality TV, dude, like they ain't creating shit. It's just documenting them doing crazy, stupid stuff, living their crazy lives, right? But so many people get stifled with that, man. And so I love that you brought that up, dude. And I'm curious with, all this other stuff that you're doing, has it been able to evolve and get to a point where cold calling is no longer necessary, where all these things have kind of just morphed into now, instead of a chasing business, now it's like turning this big attraction business?
Absolutely, Joshua. 100%. I still like to prospect a little bit just to stay relevant and to make sure I don't lose that skill, because I think it's like a skill. I really do. But in today's business, the business is so tremendous today. It's literally just going on listing appointments, negotiating transactions. And now I've built out a team to handle the inventory coming in, because, we refer out all of our buyer business. Now we're starting to have some of the team members help with the listings and build out all of that. So yes, you were right. Today, it's very much an attraction business. Remember, you have to understand, it's over a decade of doing hundreds of transactions a year, giving the best service in the world, and then being everywhere with signage and marketing, where now today the phone just rings. So yes, you're 100% right. Today, it's a whole different ballgame from what it was, but I never, ever forget where I came from. I never, ever want to fall off of what made me a success. So yes, I still prospect today. I'll even give you an example. End of 2019, right before 2020, I told, the listeners, my assistant calls me up and says, "Bri, year's over, 205 transactions, just under 90 million worth of resi." And remember, I'm not like counting it, and I'm not playing versus anyone else, right? I'm in an infinite game versus myself. I'm just trying to be a better version of myself every day in every aspect of my life. So it wasn't like I'm like, oh, I beat Bob Smith. I was like, all right, I beat myself from last year. So it was probably about 2:00 and I had a hard stop. I'm very disciplined with everything. So I had a hard stop to be home at 4:00. Year's over. Everyone's packing up, getting ready for New Year's Eve and all that stuff. And I had 2 hours left in my day. And instead of maybe meeting some friends or some coworkers for some drinks or to celebrate, what I did is I pulled my car over. I got out of the car. I found one of my signs and I just started knocking doors. And I just said, "Hi, it's Bryan Karp. I sold your neighbor's house. Are you guys thinking about selling?" So did I need more business? No, I just accomplished the biggest feat of my life, breaking the 200 mark as a sole agent. But I said, I don't ever want to forget where I came from. And I don't ever want to stop the what's the word I'm looking for? It's the momentum, right? I don't ever want to stop the momentum of what I've created. And that's how I finished the last few hours of the most incredible business year of my career.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. And I mean, you heard Steve Jobs talk about this all the time of, like to go out there and create anything of greatness, at least in the business world, a product space, whatever, he's like, look, you gotta learn to fall in love with the process. It's the, so you become addicted to and you fall in love with the process. And now that, neuroscience is getting so advanced as it is, like great neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman that are, hooking up David Goggins and all these Navy SEALs to, like, they're getting so advanced on knowing how the dopamine receptors work in the brain and so forth. And, the key really is to overall fulfillment is learning to love the process, right? And there's a lot of huge negative consequences and blowbacks if you're only focused on the outcome and that's the only thing that brings, right? Like you've been able to do it. It's not about the money, man. I mean, the money fuels the other thing, but it's the game, dude.
And I used to listen to guys who, crushed it, sold their business for $10 million. And they say the stupid line, it's not about the money, or, when you get there, it doesn't feel good. But I'm really telling you this from the most average person in the world, that last year in a pandemic, I sold 182 houses, like insane in a pandemic where half the year we were shut down in New York. And when I look back, and it doesn't feel any better or greater than when I sold 40 or 50 houses. It really doesn't. So it's the process. And then what makes me feel good is looking back and looking what I built. That's why I think it's been very, very easy for me to keep this momentum. People say to me, Bryan, how can you keep this momentum? You've crushed it. You've crushed it for many decades. You're a great steward of everything. How are you able to keep this momentum? And how are you still playing so hard and waking up so early? It's because, as we said, and to go back to it, real estate was my gateway, right? So real estate allowed me to make these little piles of money. But a pile of money, I'm a blessed man, doesn't change my life forever, right? You hand me $40,000, you hand me $50,000. Yes, that's money, but that does not change my life forever. What does is a stream of income forever. So what we did is we took real estate, we built these piles of money, and then we moved them into multifamily properties, residential real estate, and we built a passive income stream. That's how you build generational wealth. Right? That's how I changed my family tree, not my generation, not even my kids, Brody and Brock. That's how I changed their kids' lives. That's how you build generational wealth. So I've been playing for all of that from the beginning because I got into the game for that. So that's why I'm still able to play so hard today, because that's my why. That's why I'm doing all of this.
Yeah. Well, I think it's such a cool point. I shouldn't put everybody in the same box as this, so you can, let me know if this holds true for you, but when you get to that, I mean, for so many years, man, I've struggled because I wasn't like you where I was disciplined with the money. I didn't have the dream. I just got into real estate because I was sick and tired of being broke and I wanted to make some money, and went out there and started making some money right out of the gate and had some big success. And I thought it was never going to stop. And I was the dude fucking buying all the cars, the 10,000, the watches and it's just stupid stuff, dude. Made it, lost it, had to remake it and went through that roller coaster, man. And, but once you get to that point, dude, where, there's a big difference of, okay, like when you're working hard because you have to work to make this month's mortgage versus like when you're able to do this and you don't really have to, but you're able to do it because of a choice, where before it was a necessity. Now you don't need to go, you show up and do it.
Right.
But you do it because it's your choice to do it. Dude, the whole game, just becomes so much more fulfilling, so much more fun. And it's just a totally different space.
So it's funny, maybe about 2 months ago, I did a small reality show, and it was called The Protege. Okay. And basically what it was for 5 days straight, we had a competition where real estate agents all across Long Island would basically compete to be my next team member. Okay. I did it because I thought it'd be a great thing for the business. It'd be a great thing for the brand, but Joshua, it was real. And we ended up having 8 contestants, and they showed up at for work every morning at 4 a.m. We had them there till 10 o'clock at night. It was very much The Apprentice style. So there was a boardroom every day. Someone left. It was an amazing. incredibly humbling experience. And I'm in one of the last boardrooms at the end, and there's, 3 people left. And this young lady, and meant it from her heart, because I was asking, well, why do you need this? Like, why do you want to be on my team? Why do you want to get into my ecosystem? And she's like, Bryan, your wealth, your success is so above mine. Like, I need this money. I need this money to live. I need this money to pay my mortgage. I need this money to feed my family. And I paused for a second, and I said, but want to know what the problem is? You're waking up hungry, and I'm waking up effing starving every morning, right? I'm waking up at 4 a.m. when you're probably taking days off here and there. So I said, that's the problem, is you need this financially, probably quadruple what I need it, but why am I still playing harder than some people? I think it's just because I'm wired differently and I have a different DNA. But I said, that's the problem. That's where we need to get you to. So it was that kind of opened up my eyes for something.
Yeah, with your experience, man, with your agents, have you seen it where people can get there, right? Like, I guess evidence of it not being something that's innate, but something that if you choose to and you want it bad enough, that boom, you can have that mental paradigm shift needed.
Absolutely. I agree. And listen, I don't wish the curse that I have on anybody else. Right. So like I have 2 boys, and if you guys look in the background, you'll see them as babies. Now they're 8 and 9 years old. I hope that they become teachers or executives, and they could work their 9 to 5, their 8 to 4. They could be in 2 or 3 softball leagues. And, but for me, that's just not my DNA. Like, that doesn't make me happy. That doesn't get me up in the morning. So I don't preach all this stuff because I'm trying to change people. I'm not trying to change my agents today that are on my team to sell 200 homes. I just want to get you to the life that you want. Is it 20 homes? Is it 30 homes? Whatever it is, that's what I want to see.
Yep, love it. I know we're going a little bit long on time, so I got two last questions for you here. The first one, because look, there's so much that can go into. There's so many different investment strategies out there, right? Whether it be real estate, whether it be paper assets, there's a lot of different vehicles, and there's been evidence that they can all work if you know what you're doing and you're committed to them, and so forth. So I bring that up of not necessarily speaking to the strategy of the vehicle, like you mentioned multi-unit, you mentioned that, but more so of the, like, from a budget standpoint. I had a mentor at one point tell me he's like, Josh, the difference in you and I? I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm actually rich, and you're trying to prove to the world that you're rich when you're not. And I'm like, oh, dagger in the heart, but I knew exactly what he meant. Right? And he's like, look, if you want to go out there and build wealth, man, he goes, it's you got to be disciplined. And he's like, it's the 40-40-20 plan, meaning 40% of all your income is set aside for taxes because you're going to be at a higher tax bracket, like just budget for that. 40% then is all investments. And then 20% is what you allocate to live your life on, your personal life, right? And you want a bigger house, you want bigger cars, like you got to move the needle so that 20% never changes. And he's like, look, my private plane, all my stuff, dude, it's all still in that 20%. And he's like, but that, man, again, it takes the discipline, which you obviously have, but I'm curious because it's something that's really not talked about a lot in this business of how realtors should allocate their budgets to go out there and really accelerate wealth.
Yeah, you're crushing the questions today. You really are. What a great and amazing question that no one really ever asked me. So I guess the only analogy I can give is, if you guys have ever heard of Dave Ramsey, he's the most conservative person in the world. And then you also have heard of Grant Cardone, who is one of the biggest over-the-top leverage and over-the-top. I am them put together. Okay. So it really is. And that's who I am, because what it is I have these over-the-top crazy dreams, expectations of what I want, but I am uber frugal and conservative. So what I mean by that is my entire rental portfolio is debt-free. Even though I sell hundreds of homes a year and everyone gets mortgages, I preach from the sky that I don't believe in debt. And I don't. So every single one of my rental houses are paid for in full. And I'm not saying this to brag, to gloat. I am just saying for you how much harder what I tried to accomplish was, because it wasn't that I had to save up 50 grand for a down payment. I had to save up $250,000 to buy the first rental. So what I basically did is, Joshua, when our income level started to move up to the next level, we didn't change our lifestyle, right? So we were selling, I was selling hundreds of homes a year, and I was living in a $400,000 house, driving the same 2010 Camry, and going out to dinner once in a blue moon to Chili's, right? So what we basically did was we 10x'd, or we blew up our income, and then we just kept our lifestyle very modest with everybody else. And that's all it was. So, and it started off slow because remember, so I go back to the beginning, I digress. The first house, we're living there, we're making $100 a month. So I had no overhead, right? Then we saved up, we grinded, we bought the second house, which gave us $500 a month. Then the third house, $1,000 extra. Now I have $1,500 a month in passive income. Then the fourth house, really hard. The fifth house. Then I started to have a nice amount of passive income coming in. And then I said to my wife, we're going to live off the passive income, right? We're going to make sure our lifestyle is not greater than the passive income. So then when the business is selling 100, 200, right? Homes, all of that money, we could redeploy right back into real estate. So the first 7 to 10 years of this game wasn't sexy. Like, wasn't even fun. But then the last 3 or 4 is when it really, really has multiplied. If you want to break it down into percentages, so a commission check comes in, 10% comes off the top because me and my wife tied. What that basically means, I'm Jewish, she's Catholic, but if you go back into history, you could read the Torah, you could read the Bible, they all talk about tithing, and that's basically giving 10% back. Do we give it to a church? Do we give it to a temple? No, we give it to anything that drives us, anybody we could help, because you have to have the mindset of abundance, right? So when I was a young man, I always had a very scarcity mindset. I was like, oh my God, if someone takes this water from me, I don't have one. Instead of when you start giving away a lot of money, it allows you to open up for more money. So right away, 10% goes off the top. Then Uncle Sam, he basically almost takes 50%, but you say 40%, right? 40% goes to him. So now I got 50% left for Bryan Karp to work with. We're going to live on 20%, just like your mentor said. And then the other 30%, we're going to put right into real estate. The big boost was for us is once we got the cash flow, because there was no debt on the properties, once we got the cash flow at a level where we could use that for our income or to live off of, is when it really started to multiply. And many people, when they look back and say, wow, I have enough passive income to kind of live my life, they would have said, well, all this money coming in the front door, I'm going to go start buying some crazy stuff, right? But no, we didn't do that. We shut our mouths, we put our head down, and we kept crushing it and then buying more real estate.
Yeah, I love it, dude. And you mentioned Grant Cardone, right? And he and I aren't, like, if you asked him if he knew me and my name, it'd be a no, right? But I have had him on the podcast, and I have had several opportunities where, met him in person and where I've been able to spend, some time with him one-on-one and really get to know him outside of the online public persona that everybody sees. And not that he isn't what you see, but man, he is just like one of the most kind-hearted people that I've ever met, dude. But with that, what a lot of people don't realize, dude, is he had over $6 million liquid in the bank, not counting his real estate portfolio at the time. I don't know what the worth of those assets were to him. But he was driving a Toyota Camry, right? Drive around in that. And like, dude, he never flew first class. Always, coach before he bought his own, like, he's never even flown for it. Like, he went from coach to buying his own jet, right? But all of that has been funded through the passive income. So you see all the shit now, but it's like, yeah, that's what's now. That isn't what, people need to understand that, man. Yeah, dude, I love it, dude. So such powerful stuff, man. All right, dude. So last question for you, man. And I'm so excited for this. You got a program that you just recently launched. And again, man, I'm just excited for this, dude, because there's such a lack of, like you, man. I'm a student of the game, man. I've always have coaches. Oh, like I'm just binging. And, and there's definitely some good information and some good coaches, in our space, but man, it is such a small minority. I've exhausted and wasted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on bad information, the wrong coaches and so forth. So like, I always get so excited when I hear dudes like yourself that are actually producers where the shit isn't theory,
right.
That decide to, share all this brilliance in your head that the rest of us can learn from, man. So, dude, if you can, man, I'd love to just have you share a little bit about your new program, what it is, like where we can get it, all of that fun stuff. Cause man, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing it up. I really appreciate that. So when I was coming up in real estate, yes, there are some great coaching companies, but Joshua, there's no one who was in production, right? I felt like there was all these old men and old women sitting back with big bellies, and they were trying to tell me what to do. And I'm like, are any of them still in the grind? Or any of them still in the hustle? And I felt like there was no roadmap. So what I basically decided to do is when COVID hit, they shut down real estate for about 3 months here in New York, and it's been on my yellow list to do for years. And I said, I'm going to pull back the curtains of my business, and I'm going to give away everything. I'm literally going to show how I went from selling 3 houses to friends and family to over 200 houses, and how I built a 7-figure business multiple years in a row, net, not gross, like you said, net. And without spending $1 on marketing, buying leads, Zillow, penny saver ads. And basically it's about 6 hours of modules. It goes into all the different prospecting types. It goes into some scripts. It goes into follow-up methods. It goes into mindset. It goes into a way to structure your day, right? Like a diet or something, a way to structure out your day. And honestly, I didn't build it to become more wealthy or to become rich or famous. I built it for those 2 little boys, because when they grow up, I want them to have something that they can go back to just in case whatever they decide to do doesn't work, or if they ever need a money tree in the backyard. This is my kids' money tree. If they ever need something, they're just going to go and jump online and watch daddy's course and follow it step by step, and they'll be able to create anything they want. Honestly, it literally will be a game changer for the business, because I'm giving it all away, exactly what I did. And then it's going to be up to everyone else if they decide to do it.
Yep. I love it, dude. I love it, man. So,
and I'm sorry, the name of the course is the Illiterate Millionaire. You could find, right now we have an Instagram with it, which is the Illiterate Millionaire, or you could find me on Instagram or social, or just throw Bryan Karp into Google. You'll get into my ecosystem. We'll be dropping it very hard through the Illiterate Millionaire Instagram and Bryan Karp LI Instagram. Once it's all completed, we're putting a few final touches on it. I want it to be an A+ product for you guys. So we over deliver on what we're giving. We'll have some webinars leading up to it, just diving into some of the different modules, my expired method, my for sale by owner method, and some little secrets and tidbits.
Yeah, I love it, dude. And for any of you guys that are watching and listening, we pre-record these, right? So right now it's as like live with me and Bryan right now. It's not released, but we're timing this out where it will be released. If you're watching this, it's live, it's released. There's a link right below. I don't care where you're at, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, my website, wherever you're at, you scroll right below. There's going to be a link that you can go directly to it, check it out, and go out there and snag it and buy it. And, I know I am, dude. So I'm chomping at the bit, man. You got to let me be your first paid purchase, dude.
Oh, it's funny. I have my first commission check right on my back wall, which is $3,000. and it was a buyer that I drove all the way from one side of the candy bar to the other side of the candy bar. I must have spent 80 hours with her. So you listen, that first one is a very special one. You might have to fight my mom and my wife for it.
Well, give it to your wife and your mom. I'm cool with being the first non-family.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, brother.
I'll get you my credit card info, your staff, so it's just on file so you guys can get it rock and rolling. So, Bryan, I know that you mentioned, social handles, all of that stuff, but most people are driving, working out and so forth. So just real quick again, man, for those that want to continue watching, following you on this journey, watching you, just all this amazing shit that you're up to, dude. Where are the best social media places and so forth to go follow you at?
Absolutely. All day long is going to be YouTube, which is just my name, Bryan Karp, L-I, Bryan's with a Y, Instagram, Bryan Karp, L-I. And you throw it into Google, my good looking bald face will pop up. You'll find me. You'll see me. Check us out on social, and don't be afraid to DM me. Anything I can do to help you guys. I'm always here.
Yeah, love it, man. And again, you guys that are watching, listen, if you just scroll below, we'll have Bryan's website, not just for the program, but also his website, his real estate website. In case you're in his area, you want to talk to him about joining his team. You got referral, maybe you got a client that you want to refer to him and his team in his area. We're all realtors here. Plus all the social handles, all of that, just scroll below. All of that will be below for you guys to make it super easy on you. And Bryan, dude, I know how busy you are, man. And the fact that you took time out of your busy day and away from your family and your business to be here, man, is such an honor, dude. And we just truly appreciate this, man. This has been freaking awesome, dude.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, 100%, my friend. And those watching, listening, as always, truly appreciate your support. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace. I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.